This is your Chapter 10 review. The first thing you'll have to do on your test is draw a scatter plot. So remember, when we draw a scatter plot, we need to label the top, give it a title. So judging by my data, I'm going to give my title of test scores. Then we need to label each axis. The x-axis in this example is days studied. And the y-axis will be the score that they earned. Now I'll need to label what the lines mean. Since my days studied only has to go up to 9, I'm going to do every other line being 1. My scores have to go up to 25. Well, my lines don't quite go to 25, so I'm going to make each line worth 2. So I'm only going to label every fifth one. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 is right there. 12, 14, 16, 18, whoops, 20. 2, 4, 6, 8, 30. There we go. Oop, make my 0. There we are. And now we'll make our point. We have a point at 7, 23. So that is right about here. And then we have 9, 25. Right there. 5, 14. 1, 5. That one was bad, sorry. Yes, I do expect your scatter plot to be a little bit better than mine because with using a touch screen, it's a little difficult. We have 8, 22. 4, 15. 3, 11. And 6, 17. Right about there. There is a scatter plot for you. Now using that scatter plot, we want to determine what the point 8, 22 meant. Well, if it was 8 on the x-axis, that means that this person studied for 8 days. And at 22 means that they scored 22 points. The next thing you'll have to do is just determine positive and negative association. This one on the left here, that is negative association because it goes down from left to right. The one on the right here, it's kind of spread apart, but it is overall a positive association. Now we have to draw a trend line and find its equation. Your examples will be a little bit more clear than this. You want to draw a trend line that goes about through the middle. You want it to try to have the same number of dots on the bottom and the top, or below and above. And you want it to try to, fit the trend in the data. So we want ours to have a positive slope. Since we're trying to find the equation, we definitely want it to go through 2 points. So I'm going to draw my trend line through those 2 points. Except you will use a ruler and it will actually be straight. Now to find the trend line, we'll write down first what those 2 points were. Our 2 points were about 82, 100 and 94, 600. So to find our equation, we start with our slope. Remember, we subtract the y values on top, and we subtract the x values in the same order on the bottom. This gives me a slope of 500 over 12, or 125 over 3. Now we need to find our equation. We write y equals our slope times x plus b. Well, we need to use some numbers in there for x and y. I'm going to use my first point here. So y is 100, and x will be 82. When I multiply my 125 over 3 times 82, I get 10,250 over 3. Now I'm going to subtract that off of both sides. So B will equal negative 9,950 over 3. And my final equation then is y equals 125 over 3x minus 9,950 over 3. Now you could have used decimals in this example also. I just chose to use fractions. We're going to interpret the slope and the intercept of that trend line. Our slope. Now our slope, I'm going to change it to a decimal for this one. It was 125 over 3. I'm going to change that to 41.6 repeating. And what this means is that 41.6 more people go to the beach for each degree warmer that it is. So remember, in our example, we had daily temperature and visitors to the beach. So that is what our slope means. 41.6 more people went to the beach every degree warmer it was. And my y-intercept now. My y-intercept was about negative 3,316.6, repeating. So what that means is that that's the number of people that go to the beach when it is 0 degrees. Now realize that negative 3,000 people cannot go to the beach, but that's just what it means. That's how we would interpret it. And now using our trend line, we're going to estimate some other data points. We want to know how many people go to the beach when it's 90 degrees outside. So we're going to plug in 90 for my x. So when I plug in 90, I end up getting 433 people go to the beach. And now the temperature, if 250 people go to the beach, I plug 250 in for my y. Remember, I would add that 9,950 over 3 over, then I would divide by 125 over 3. I will get about 85.6 degrees Fahrenheit outside if 250 people go to the beach. The next thing we'll have to do is identify clustering and outliers. Now, clustering can be a little weird. Basically, we want to look for the piece that I could approximate with my trend line. So that makes my cluster right about here. So we write our clustering, giving the x values and the y values. My clustering is from about 60 to 95 test, whatever that is, test score, I'm not sure. And about 5 to 50 for the homework. Maybe that's percent, I'm not sure. Our outliers are these two pieces that I didn't get. Those are 44,5 and 60,37. Those just don't seem to fit with the rest of them. You will also have to draw a better trend line. Remember, we want to have about the same number of points above and below the trend line, and we want it to follow the general association pattern. So my better trend line is going to go right about there. It's definitely better than the red one. There we go. You will also have to determine linear and nonlinear association. So this first one with the green dots, that is definitely a linear association. They go about straight. For this one on the right, that is nonlinear association because there's not a straight line that would approximate that very well. We would have to use this curvy one. You will also have to make a two-way frequency table given some data. So remember our table? Should get set up. We have boys and girls. I'm going to have 4 rows on mine. Then we've got Spanish, French, and German. So I'll need, let's just start labeling these boys, girls, total, and let's see here. Spanish, French, German, total. All right, 10 boys took Spanish, 15 girls. 2 boys took French, 12 girls. 8 boys took German, 3 girls. And now we find our totals. 25 total people took Spanish, 14 took French, and 11 took German. There were 20 total boys, 30 total girls, and 50 total people. The least popular language had the least number of people that took it, and that was German, because only 11 people took that. You will also have to make a relative frequency table. We're going to use the data from the last problem to compare language taken by gender. So on your test, I will give you hints like this. What % of boys took German? So that means that we are cutting out the total row at the bottom. So we're going to have boys and girls only. We'll still have Spanish, French, German, and total. So remember to fill in our boxes now. We take the number of boys that took Spanish divided by the total number of boys, which is 10 over 20, which gives me 0.5. For French, we do 2 over 20, which gives me 0.1. And German, we do 8 over 20, which gives me 0.4. And that should all total up to 1. For the girls, we had 15 took Spanish out of 30, which gives me 0.5. 12 out of 30 took French, which gives me 0.4. And 3 out of 30, 4.1, and that all adds up to 1. We would then use this table to make some conclusions, but for now we're just making it. And the last thing you'll have to do on your test is take a scenario and tell me whether it would be positive or negative association. So our first example, the amount of time that Ms. Dupree spends petting Stuart at night and the amount of homework that she was able to grade that night. This would be a negative association situation, because the more I pet Stuart, the less homework I'm going to grade. Our other situation, the amount of time Ms. Dupree is gone in a day and the number of times Stuart meows at her when she gets home. The longer I'm gone, the more Stuart meows at me. So that is positive association. And now your assignment is to finish your Chapter 10 packet and do the review pages in the back.